Shaan Chagan here, and if you're new to this channel, this is where I talk about building my two businesses, my advertising agency and my media company. And today we're at Papago Park, and we're going to be talking about how I closed $40 million in closed deals over my career and what that sales process looks like. So if you're a founder, if you're someone new, or if you close your 100th deal, this is for you. Sales isn't complicated, but it does require discipline. You know, whether you're a founder who is looking to land more clients, or you're someone that's a veteran in the industry, or if you're someone that's new in software sales or advertising sales, if you're curious about what goes into a really great process, I've got you. So in my career, I've closed about $40 million in advertising sales. And I've built this process that's very simple, it's repeatable, and it's really easy to execute. And so let's go ahead and go through it. All right, so let's start with my sales checklist. These are the things that you need that are the foundations of every deal. And if you don't get these things, you're wasting time, you're leaving money on the table, and you're losing momentum completely. So there's 5 things that you need. The first thing is buyer goals. Do you have an understanding of how your solution is going to solve their problem? Is that a monetary value? Is there specific leads that they're trying to get? If you don't have an understanding of that, it's not going to happen. The second thing is decision making. So who signs off on the actual contract? Who signs off on the actual deal? You need to get that answer because your deal will literally never get closed if you don't. The third thing is budget. So do you have an idea of what kind of numbers are they working with? And what that allows you to do is work within the confines of that number. So you're not scaring them off, or you're not underselling yourself by recommending a package or a deal that's actually lower than what you could have got. The fourth thing is timeline. So do you have an actual idea of when they can make this decision and what works within that time frame? So what I mean by that is, like, what steps do they need to take within that time frame to get that to happen? And then the last thing is pretty simple, but it's track your progress. It sounds rudimentary, but you need to keep an eye on all of these things in the sales checklist to make sure that you're actually going to get an answer, which could be a yes. And so these are the things that I live by. It's completely repeatable and simple and usable. And so that's the first thing, is sales checklist. I had to stop walking because you guys could hear me breathing. Let's talk about the framework and methodology that I live by. It's called MEDDIC. And so that's MEDDIC. And this is a framework I live by because it allows you to be able to take the guesswork out of potential conversations. So the first thing is M, metric. So you need to identify what kind of metric that they're trying to target or go after. And the reason why you need to do that is because anytime you make a potential recommendation, it backs into that metric. And so that could be an example. They're trying to get 30 leads. And how do they quantify those 30 leads? Oh, well, they're $300 each that they're willing to spend. And there you go. You're able to make a recommendation around that. The second one is E, and that's economic buyer. And the reason why you need economic buyer is because you need someone to be able to sign off on the deal. And now that could be multiple buyers. It could be one person. But ultimately, you need to understand who actually makes the sign off and the decision to be able to ultimately close that deal. The next one is D, which is decision process. So what actually goes into that decision process? Does legal get involved? Do you have to talk to one person and then talk to another? Or is there someone else, a consultancy involved? Once you have an understanding of the decision process, then you're able to check those boxes off as you go through the conversation. The next one is decision criteria. So this could be different for any kind of industry. You know, if you're in software, is there technical requirements? When it comes to advertising, is there GDPR stuff that you have to figure out? When it comes to decision criteria, is like, what are there, no doubt about it, you have to be able to get these things done for us to work together. And so you need to understand that, because that could ultimately be the downfall of your potential deal. The next thing is identify pain. So if you can't build any kind of urgency in a potential client that you're speaking to, then the deal is not going to close, because there's no reason for them to actually do it. So when you're identifying pain, you're trying to figure out how your solution can solve their problem. And if you can do that, there's a really good chance that your deal is going to ultimately close. And then the last one is champion, which it can be for different situations. It could be for larger teams, and or Sometimes even smaller teams have them, but your champion is someone that's internally, that doesn't make a decision, but is very instrumental into the decision process. So you need to treat that person as like your internal seller and use them to be able to get to the ultimate decision maker and help them make that decision. And so they're like your best buddy. This is someone that you can friend zone, but you need to do it in a way where like you're actually getting them to be on your side and help you throughout the process. And so this is the framework, this is a methodology. These are things that take out the that put the strategy in place and completely take out the guesswork in conversations. And if you can have a structure like this, you'll close any deal out there. So switch sides on you. It's like I teleported. So the next part of this is actually pitching the deal. And this can be a little bit of a weird, convoluted situation because you're kind of supposed to be doing that already when you're doing the sales checklist and identifying the things in the methodology medic. But I'll give you 3 things that you need to focus on when you're actually pitching the deal to help you out. So the first thing is storytelling. Stories sell. So if you have a potential past customer or some way you can involve a story to really paint the picture about your solution, that's going to help you and take you so far because people can actually visualize what you're trying to tell them instead of you just spitting out your solutions and talking about your product. The second thing is just be direct. I think a lot of people tend to be spacey and say a bunch of words and word vomit that really means nothing. If you're direct, you say, hey, this is what it does, this is what it can't do. That's gonna really go a long way. And then stay organized. Have a structure to your pitch. When you're talking about it, you should be talking about the problem, you should be talking about the solution, you should be talking about what the solution will look like for them, and then what the next steps will look like. It's that simple, and you shouldn't make it more complicated than that. Walking again. So the last thing that I wanted to touch on is that sales can be emotionally difficult, to say the least. You're gonna hear a lot more no's than you're gonna hear a lot more yeses. And I think the thing to remember about that is not necessarily about you, it's about the fit. And rejection is redirection. And the more you can compartmentalize that and recognize that like, hey, move on, then the opportunities will come to you. And in the long term, that's how you truly win. And so that's, from covering the sales checklist, medic, pitching, to how to handle rejection. That's really my whole sales process that's helped me close about $40 million in close deals over my career. And so, hey, ask me some questions, drop something in the comments. If you have like a scenario that you need to play out, I'm happy to help you. And of course, consider subscribing if you found that this was helpful and you want to continue following my journey, building 2 businesses, my advertising agency and my media company. And I'll see y'all later.